Wow, what a fun lunch. The only problem is I didn't get a lunch, so I'm tired, but I'm excited. No, it felt really, really good. Anyway, I got a couple of things I want to lead with today, and then we're going to jump into our session. Actually, real quick, do this full group. So this is the session, obviously, session 13, Advanced Persuasion. So this is where we'll be hanging out for the next hour or so. So feel free to drop all the fire and the excitement in here. This is a session I've never taught before. This could go really well. It could be a night. I don't even know. It's going to be fun, though, either way. So I'm pumped to teach some advanced persuasion stuff. Again, these are things I think about a lot, but I never have a chance to talk to people about them because no one's ever going to buy like an advanced persuasion course from Russell. But now you're here, you have to listen to me. So you're going to have a weird glimpse inside of my head of the stuff that I think about, that I do, and hopefully some value will come from it, which will be fun. But before we do that, a couple of cool things. I opened a loop to you guys earlier today about some of the fun things that I want to do. And so I'm going to pull up some slides. We're going to go through those things. So number one, as you guys know, I'll talk about tomorrow. So tomorrow we are doing a VIP session. I think 60% of you guys who registered are VIPs. So for 60% of you guys, we'll start tomorrow. From that, as you guys know, there's two levels. One level where you could actually ask a question to me and I'll answer it. I thought that maybe like 20 of you guys would take that offer. It turns out it was like over 100 took that offer. So tomorrow I'll be doing Q&A. Well, I don't know how long it's going to take. It might be an hour, it might be 12 hours. We'll find out tomorrow. This is going to be a lot of fun. We'll be here on the stage, me and Chris, and we'll go through all the questions. And again, if you're VIP, you can come in and you can watch it. If you upgrade VIP, there's also a version where you can actually ask me a question. For next year's time event, we are going to dramatically increase the price on that because you never know till you make the offer. And then when too many people take it, you raise the price. And so, but tomorrow will be fun. So we'll do a VIP session. We'll start at the same time. If you're not a VIP yet and you want to come to that session tomorrow, you can still upgrade. Just go to VIPnow.com. And the coolest thing is when you're VIP, you also get the entire replays of this event. So if you missed the session, whatever, you got to be VIP. That way we'll give you all the replays, which will be really, really cool. Okay. So that's number one thing to share with you. And again, there's the link sellingonline.com/VIPnow. Okay. The next thing I want to share with you guys, how many guys would like to attend this event again next time when we do it for free? Let me see your hands. Yeah, every time you do this, first off, I'm going to get better at it. You get more things. There's no way I'm going to be able to replicate me talking to the logical monkey, though, because that was amazing. So that just came off, that just happened. I don't know where it even came from. So maybe we'll replay that session. But we're coming, we're going to do it again. So if you guys want to come to that, I'm going to ask you to do a favor, okay? If you will go and you will invite somebody to come to this event and they sign up for it, I will give you 100% of ticket cost. So they pay $100 ticket, $100 ticket, you get that $100, okay? Which is really cool. So this is, if you're not, you should have an affiliate link already. When you signed up, we gave you guys an affiliate link. If you don't have one yet, though, you can go to sellingonline.com/affiliate and you'll get a link. And so you give that link to somebody and they register as for the event. They pay the $100. We'll give that $100 to you as an affiliate. So 100% affiliate commission. And then if you sell one seat, just one seat, I'll give you a free ticket to come with them as well. Does that sound good? So you can sell it to a friend, a business partner. You can post it on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Like post it, you sell one ticket. We'll give you free access to come back and we'll give you VIP access. So you'll come in as a VIP if you sell just one ticket. Does that sound good? Is that cool? You guys like that? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off slides and we're going to talk about some of this advanced persuasion stuff. I'm going to pull up a chair because it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun just to like half sit while we're here. Maybe it's because I literally have shin splints from the last 3 days, which is awesome. I think I told you guys that 90 minutes on stage, someone told me this when I first got started, is the equivalent of an 8-hour workday from a caloric standpoint because you're mentally, physically, it's crazy. So when you're doing like 5-6 sessions, you're doing like a week's worth of work in one day. And so it wears on you. It's draining, but it's also like feeling you fill a cup, like feeling, so I get filled up by you guys as well. So it's a lot of fun. So, okay. So advanced persuasion. I've been teaching you guys a lot of advanced persuasion stuff throughout this whole thing, right? Some of it I'm teaching you very much like, here's what I'm doing. Some of it I'm doing stuff and I'm hoping you guys are catching it. How many of you guys like, now that you've seen behind the scenes of more stuff, you're like starting to notice stuff more and like, is Russell, he's doing this, right? So I'm curious. So today, I want to talk about today, for example, right? Today was a really cool day. when you're doing a 3-day event, right? There's a day and a half where you're basically plugging in a lot of the perfect webinar frameworks into a bunch of presentations, okay? And then there's a couple I talked about this in the VIP room, but there's a couple of presentations where the goal is to introduce a problem you don't know you're gonna have, right? When somebody comes into my world, like if they wanna buy funnels from me, they don't know anything, but then I tell them my funnels are gonna solve all the problems. Like, I want a funnel then. But what they don't know is when you get a funnel, it solves that problem, but then it opens up a new problem, which is I have a funnel, but I don't have an offer yet, right? Like, oh, I didn't think about that. And then you help them get an offer, and it's like, cool, I have a funnel, I have an offer, but I don't have any copy. It opens up a new problem, okay? They get funnel, offer, copy. I have a new problem, I need traffic. So every time you solve one problem for them, it opens up a new problem. You solve a problem, it opens up a new problem, okay? So if you notice over the 2.5 days that I'm doing this presentation, or doing the presentations here, you guys came to want to learn how to do one-to-many sales, right? That was the big promise, the big result. That's why you came here, right? And then I'm doing the perfect webinar, but I'm doing certain sessions where the goal of the session is to create a gap, okay? I'm introducing you to a problem you didn't even know, you didn't have, right? Like I taught you guys, here's 3 different funnels you use to be able to grow a one-to-many audience, right? So I introduced that to you and I create a gap, and all of a sudden you're like, I didn't know I didn't need a funnel, but I need a funnel. I need a funnel that's gonna liquidate itself. Like all of a sudden, like it creates this huge gap. You're like, this is amazing, but I don't know what to do, right? So I create this gap, and there's multiple presentations you'll notice from the first day and a half, right? I introduce an idea, introduce a problem you didn't know happened. I create a gap. You understand it, but you're like, I don't know how to solve this gap now. And then when we get to the offer is the thing that closes the gap for you. Does that make sense? So I'm opening a gap, and then I close it later on during the offer. Okay, so that's the first thing that's kind of happening that 3 days. Then we make the offer. Then when the offer is done, the day after the pitch, the third day in a live event is called the repitch. Okay, this is where, again, as you guys know, the emotional buyers typically buy on day number 2. And then the logical buyers are sitting there stewing about it and thinking about it, stressing out about it, right? And so then day number 3 is then we make the logical arguments. We do the heart close. We do all these other things to try to get people to push themselves over the edge, okay? So I'm curious. This is the pop quiz. Who's paying attention, okay? What are some of the closes that I used today so far to get you guys to jump in? By the way, we more than doubled the sales today from yesterday by what we did so far this morning, okay? So question, what are some of the things you saw me do that were interesting, okay? I'm seeing them all here. What's that? Okay, Krista says, I showed the $100,000 video, right? I showed Chris McClurg's video of him giving us $100,000 for something, for the same result. He wanted a webinar creation, he paid $100. So you saw that, right? Wow, this person paid $100, so I'm price anchoring high, and it comes down low. Okay, Myron's Eagle story. Yes, Myron, that's one of Myron's clothes. I plugged in the Eagle story. So you guys are seeing that. Like when for something to go up, it's got to go down first, right? You got to make investment before you can have success. Like everything in life, you have to go down before you go up. Very, very good. Something I don't know if you guys noticed is something you do when you sell is called a price marinade. So I learned this actually originally from Myron, man, probably almost 15 years ago now. What a price marinade is you notice that as I was teaching as offers throughout the last 2 days, I didn't just talk about $1,000 offer and then make you a $10,000 offer because it seems high, right? So day number 1, you guys remember I was talking about offers. I'm like, who here wants to see what $1 million offer looks like? And so I showed you guys me pitching $1 million offer, right? So now in your head, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, people paid Russell $1 million. And you have the sticker shock of $1 million, like, holy cow. And you're like, oh, I wish I had $1 million. I would totally buy that, right? So high sticker shock. Tony Robbins, the same thing. If you go to UPW, Tony Robbins, you'll notice that throughout the entire event, probably 10 times, he talks about, he's got one client, Paul Tudor Jones, pays him $1 million a year for coaching. And what he did is he's anchoring that to get coaching with Tony Robbins is $1 million a year. And you hear him talk about, he pays $1 million a year, $1 million a year. Why does he pay $1 million a year? Because it's worth it. It's like, you're like, okay, Tony's value is $1 million a year. Then when he comes back on day 3, he sells you Wealth Mastery for $10,000. It's like, oh, I price marinated the $1 million, which seems so high, and it comes down to 10,000. It's like very, very simple, right? So you notice day number 1, I price anchored $1 million many times. Day number 2, I price anchored $100,000, talking about $100,000 a day, talked about Chris McClurg's $100,000 investment. So I talked about $100,000 offers. So you had $1 million price anchor, which was like sticker shock, like, oh, and eventually, like, oh, I wish I could afford that. And I come with a $100,000 offer, you're like, ooh, that's a lot, but that's 1/10 of $1 million. Like, okay, that's cool, but I still can't afford that. And the actual offer came in, it's only 10,000, right? Now it's like, oh, that seems cheap. It's not $1 million, like $1 million if I want to work with Russell to build an event, 100,000 to him to do my presentation, 10,000 to do it in group. Like that seems so inexpensive, right? Or if I led day number 1, hey, in 2 days from now, I'm going to make you an offer for $10,000 where you in a group can build a webinar together. You'd be like, that's no, right? So you do price anchors for anchoring things, okay? Other things today. You notice when I first got back today, the very first thing we did, this is a session that Barry Baumgartner calls, My Team Tells Me, okay? I feel like I'm just showing behind this. You guys are seeing all this stuff. Here's how I do the magic. And I pull the rabbit out of the hat, okay? So first session is My Team Tells Me, okay? This is what happens typically after the pitch the next day. So with My Team Tells Me, what we're doing is coming back and saying, hey, just so you know, My Team Tells Me we have some questions. And if one person has a question, it means probably 100 of you guys have a question. So you cool if I go through these really quick, and that way we can go through all the concerns. And people are like, yeah, sure. And so you go through, and all the questions we took were ones that, if they weren't like random questions, like one person's asking this thing, it's like, what are all the core questions that people are having, right? Questions that address emotion, logic, fear. And so we're talking about all of those as I'm going through these questions. But all those questions are me just closing. We gotta get Krista to learn how to turn her ringer off. This is the 3rd time. Can we find her? Okay, when you guys come in person, when you win the event, we're going to find you next time. We didn't tell her, so she's fine. Anyway, where was I at? I don't remember now. We are at... My team tells me, yeah. So each of those questions are a close. It's things that I know are in the back of people's minds that's keeping them from buying, right? And so I'm going through those questions. Each of those questions are a close, right? Then we transitioned, and again, I'm looking back at the questions, and one of the big fears everyone was having, one of the big mental blocks, is just the fact that they don't feel comfortable. They can't do it, right? So that's why I'm like, well, I have this video session from charisma hacking from McCall Jones. Let me show that video, because that's going to break some false beliefs and rewrite some false beliefs for people. So that was something this morning as I was looking at questions kept coming up. That was not planned ahead of time. I'm like, that session would solve that concern. That would rewrite the story in people's heads. So I found that video clip, played it to rewrite the story. Okay, a lot of times, especially on YouTube, if you guys find things on YouTube where you're like, man, that thing was powerful, man, that changed my false belief. Like, keep track of those things. Like, make a bookmark of keeping those videos, because there's times when you can, in a presentation, you can go back and like, oh, let me show you a YouTube video. Here's a cool part of a YouTube video you show, and it probably, especially if it's something that broke a false belief pattern for you, you can show it to your audience, they can watch that, and it'll break a belief pattern for them, right? So again, me showing McCall Jones' session was hopefully breaking a false belief pattern for 100 of you guys. And so we plugged that in there as well, right? Then I came back and I did the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey is a teaching session. I'm teaching from personal development, teaching from a storytelling standpoint, but at the same time, it's a close, right? The hero's 2 journeys is a close. And you guys saw, like, I'm going through the hero's journey, but I'm then placing it, I'm putting you into that hero's journey with me. I'm making you the hero of the story. And so as I'm teaching you guys the principles of it, I'm also coming back and like, in fact, for example, you're going through this right now, right? And you have this opportunity, and you got faith and fear, and so I'm taking you on this journey. So hero's 2 journey is another type of close. Okay. Now, on the last day, if you study Barry Baumgartner's, and by the way, inside of the Prime Mover Foundation members area, we'll be putting a lot of Barry's training in there, stuff she's done with us in the past. But one thing she talks about on the repitch day, she wants to do what's called a heart close, right? You get people back into their heart and feeling. Have you ever heard this quote? It's kind of funny. This is like a Robbie Summers. One guy used to work on our sales team. He talked about, if you look at somebody's wallets in their pocket, what's closer? Is it closer to their heart or to their mind? Right? The wallet's closer to the heart. So he's always like, you gotta do heart closes because the wallet's closer to the heart. So you need a heart close, something where you're like emotional, bring it back to the original reason, like the calling, the reason why we're there. So for me, I show the Ben Care presentation because it's getting you back into your heart, getting you back into like, yes, this is my mission. This is what I'm trying to do. And so you can do that in a presentation. You can do that watching a motivational video. There's different ways you can do it, but it gets people back in their heart of just like, yes, this is me. This is what I'm trying to do. It's a heart close. Okay. And then I came back, and again, then I showed the emotion, logic, fear close, right? Because I wanted to address all 3 of them one more time. And then somehow in the middle of that, I started talking to the monkey, and that was amazing. And it turned out to be a really cool thing that was not planned at all. So we'll call that the monkey close. We'll throw that into the members area for all you guys as well. And we can study what it was, but it was really fun. So anyway, those are some of the things that happened today, as you can see. Also, I needed fear, I needed urgency and scarcity. So we had something happening, right? So we had, for everyone who bought, we had the live Wizard of Oz event that was happening, it was separate, right? To show people like, this is the cool thing that you want to be part of, right? Which gets people off the fence, gives them a reason to buy now, okay? When you look at emotion, logic, fear, the core thing with fear you're trying to do is figure out, how can I get people to buy now, right? And not buy later, but I need to get them to buy right now. I need something in place to get them to take the action right now. You think about this, when we launch Funnel Hacking Live, we do that event. That event is, man, one of the hardest things we do, to fill 5,000 people into a big state. Like, it's a really hard thing, because when someone's buying tickets to an event, like, they have to, it's not just buying $1,000 tickets, also they have to get time off work, they got flights, hotels, babysitters, like, there's so many other decisions they have to make to be able to do that thing, right? So with us, when we started some Funnel Hacking Live, I do this big, huge promotion, I do a webinar, I get everyone all excited, and like, we drive all this traffic, and I sell the tickets, and it was crazy. We'd like, after we get done, how many tickets do we sell? And if I was doing a webinar, I'd be like, we sold 800 or something, you know? I mean, how many tickets do we sell? Like, we sold 5. Like, what? Like, yeah, we sold 5. I'm like, oh, we sold 5 tickets from all that effort? I mean, that's crazy. And like, when we do event sales, it was like a slow trickle of like 5 sales, 2 sales. Every day it's just like a few sales. Like, how do we stimulate growth? And for the last decade, we've tried a million different things. And what's crazy is the only thing that gets people to buy tickets fast to a live event, and this is different, virtual is a little bit different, but for like physical live events, if someone's gonna make a big decision, is I have to take something away. Urgency and scarcity. Fear is the only thing in my testing lab of a decade to get people to take action to a live event is I have to take something away. So if you watch the Funnel Hacking Live promotion schedule, when we do something, what happens is we always introduce something of value and I take it away. Introduce something of value and I take it away. Okay? So what happens is, Funnel Hacking Live's happening. The first thing I do is I say, hey, anyone who buys tickets right now, you get the replays from last year's event for free. I introduce something really cool, right? And when I do that, hardly anybody buys. Nobody buys. A couple tickets here, one ticket, two tickets, three, like little tickets here and there. And then what happens is I take it away, and when I take it away, huge spike in sales. Sell 100 tickets that day. Right? So you get the Replace Masters event, I have it run it for 2-3 weeks, and then I'm like, hey guys, we're taking this away, take it away, midnight tonight, we're taking it away, in 2 hours, taking it away, in 1 hour, taking it away, an hour, and then boom, we take it away. And like that last urgency and scarcity, fears, the thing, it finally gets people to buy, and the next day drops back down to like 1 ticket sell, right? Oh, okay, we have another 5.5 months to sell tickets. What do we do now? Okay, we need to introduce something new. So what do we introduce? For us, it's speakers, right? So here's the first speaker, and then speakers give a speaker bonus. And you think that the speaker gives a speaker bonus, so there's a bunch of sales. Nope, no sales. Like 1 or 2 trickle in. Speaker gives a bonus. Next speaker gives a bonus. Next speaker gives a bonus. Sales keep trickling in. So I introduce something, and then I take it away. And by taking it away, huge increase in sales, right? So you notice every time, introduce speakers, and then they all have speaker bonuses, and then take away the speaker bonuses, huge increase in sales. And so like throughout our Funnel Hacking Live 8-month campaign, you see that's all I'm doing. Introducing things, taking away. Introducing, taking away. So the same thing was here for you guys. I needed you guys to take action. It was funny in the breakout room with all of everyone who upgraded. Like I was talking about emotion, logic, fear, and like almost everyone that asked me a question, like I was the logical person. I sat there until there was like 3 seconds left on the clock, and I finally bought. Like I was the one that was like waiting and waiting, and like fear was trying to talk me out of it, and I finally did it, right? But that's the key. Like people have to have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, that thing they're going to miss out on to increase sales, right? And so you think about that. Like that's why we had this huge. We doubled sales right before lunch because then we closed it down, right? And then tomorrow we have VIP day, right? I'm probably going to introduce something VIP day, and we're going to take it away again. And then we have this weekend, and Sunday at midnight we take it away again. So like there'll be multiple takeaways until it all closes out, right? And so anyway, so those are some things that we're having fun with. Do you guys like this game? Like, do you love the marketing game? Like marketing, psychology, how humans work? Like, it's always fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me that like, I remember when I first got started in this game, we were driving a ton of traffic to this website. And it was weird because like we're doing different split tests and stuff. And I always think like humans, like I'm myself, like I'm just, like I'm different than everybody else. There's no like, I'm not tied to other people. Like I have my own beliefs, my own thoughts, and my own feelings. But then I look at something, I have a page, right? The page is perfect. And let's say I have a blue headline. And I change the blue headline from red or from blue to red, right? And by doing that, I increase conversions from like 15% on the page to 35% on the page. And it's like, how does that work? How does human psychology work? Like if you looked at the page side by side, you would never know that anything was different. But for some reason, that little tweak got, of 1,000 people a day, 300 people more bought today than yesterday because the color was a different color. And they didn't even know the color was before. Like, it's like, why, like these things are so weird to me. And I don't know what they are ever. It's like the weirdest tests and tweaks and like things that work, you never know. It was just testing a bunch of stuff and then seeing patterns. I'm like, wow, this pattern works. So I'm just gonna keep doing it, right? So for me, it's been like 20 years of like just testing things and these patterns arise. And like, oh, I'm just do more of that. I don't really know why it works, but I know it works. It's so fascinating to us as humans. Like we're like a stream of fish, and like we just are all moving the same direction. And like one little tweak will get these huge conversion things back and forth. And it's fascinating to me. So hopefully, yeah. So a lot of what I'm gonna talk about in this advanced persuasion session are the things I've discovered like that on this process that just kind of pop up that are really interesting. So, okay. I've got a list of like 10 things here I'm gonna go through in no particular order. The first one I want to talk about is this concept called social compliance. And this is one that's really, really interesting. The first time I ever talked about this, it was after 10X. We did the $3.2 million in sales, and then we did a breakdown, a presentation. And I took the 90-minute presentation, and it was like almost a 4-hour training where I went through, and I pushed play, we watched like a minute, I paused and explained what I was doing. And so there's something I did the very first of that presentation that was really cool. What I did at the very beginning is I got on stage, 9,000 people, and had everybody get their phones out, turn the flashlight, and hold the flashlight and show that to everybody, right? I never thought I did that because like I wanted the cool B-roll and the cool picture. And the reality is I did want the cool B-roll and the cool picture, and it's amazing, right? But it wasn't just for that. There's psychology behind what I was doing. It's called social compliance, okay? There's a reason why when we get here, I have everyone turn their cameras on. The reason why we all are dancing together as a group. There's a reason why we're doing all these kind of things, and it's to create social compliance. And so I'll kind of lead with that. And I'm gonna show you guys a trailer from a YouTube channel. Any of you guys know who Darren Brown is? Darren Brown is a fascinating guy who does crazy things with human psychology and people's minds. But there's a documentary movie called Push. Anyone seen the documentary? It is crazy and insane. So we're gonna watch the trailer for this documentary, and I'll come back and tie it back to social compliance. But if you want a fun thing to watch, let me say, it's not fun. It's a little fun, but it's very disturbing. You want something very disturbing to watch this weekend and kind of fun and very fascinating? Fascinating is the word, yeah. Watch this weekend. But here's the trailer. Let's cue the trailer. I'll come back and tie it back to social compliance here in a second.
Okay, here we go.
Why is it wrong?
I want to talk to the auctioneer.
You did talk to the auctioneer and you helped him set these prices.
It's completed. It's just the...
Benny? Pills. Chris, what? Chris, I'll call an ambulance, find the pills and bring them back.
Chris is enmeshed in a web of lies, and that's important. I need him to feel like there's only one way out when he's told to commit murder. My name is Darren Brown, and the question we're considering is simple. Can we be manipulated through social pressure to commit murder?
70 people coming in here. They can't see this. Take them by the knees.
70 actors will be playing out a meticulously planned and rehearsed scenario to manipulate this man who has no idea he's being filmed.
Come on, guys, what are we going to do?
He's a millionaire. He's going to make sure you go to jail.
This show is about how readily we hand over authorship of our lives every day.
Just give him one big push.
Can social compliance be used to make someone push a living, breathing human being to their death? Welcome to The Push.
Yeah. You got to watch it now. I want to go rewatch. It's been a couple years since I watched it. But they do a social experiment. I think they do it 4 different times. And from the 4 different times, I think 3 of the 4 people push the person to their death. Within like a couple hours. Like an hour before would never commit, would never murder anybody. And within an hour or so, they're killing people. Like, it's crazy. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. So you watch that and you're like, that's crazy, that's dark, that's evil. Yeah, all this stuff, yes. But then I ask, like, how does that work with us? Like, we're humans. I'm not trying to hurt somebody or murder somebody, obviously, but I am trying to help somebody, or I'm trying to help move somebody. I'm trying to help get people to break false beliefs, rebuild the beliefs so they can move, they can take action, they can change their lives. And if we're doing it at scale, right? Like, we're not working one-on-one with people individually. Like, we're working at mass scales. You're talking to one to many, right? 1 person to 100, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000. It's like you're having these group things like, what things can we do to get people to follow? So people follow group norms. They follow social norms, right? Social compliance. And so what people are doing, we all do together. There's a reason why you see good speakers. Or Tony Robbins, like, everyone raise your hand and say aye. Raise your hand and say aye. Like, Tony's always doing that. What's he doing? He's trying to get the group all to come together. When we all are doing the same thing together, we feel empathy, we feel like all these things start happening differently. In fact, somebody asked during the VIP session, they said, are your conversions higher in a live event than a virtual event? When I'm trying to sell something, the answer is 100% yes, okay? And the reason why is in a live event, I can control the environment, right? I control the environment. I can see people's faces. I can talk to different groups of the audience, things like that, right? Whereas virtually, all of you guys have your own environment. You control it. Now, obviously, I'm trying to take control by having access, seeing you inside your rooms. Like, we're trying to do things together. We're trying to get everyone socially compliant, raising hands, dancing, doing things. We're all together doing the same kind of thing. And so we're trying to create create that together, right? I don't know how to explain that. Create that community together. But in a room, it's way easier, right? Fun Hacking Live is so easy because I can get the entire room doing the same thing, saying the same thing, chanting the same thing, all those kind of things. And when everyone's doing the same things, it's easier, right? There's social proof. There's all these other things that make selling a lot easier. And so when you're in a room, people, it's much easier. When you're remote, it's a little harder. So if I'm doing a webinar and I don't see people's faces, I still like, how do I get social compliance? How do I get everyone on the same page? And that's why you'll notice, like, I'm playing off the comments. I'm doing a live webinar. I'm like, everyone go to the chat. Tell me where you're from. Everyone's like, Boise, Indonesia. Da, da, da. And I'm doing that not just because, like, I'm trying to buy time or waste time. I'm trying to get everybody doing the same thing. So we become one person that I'm speaking to versus 10,000 individuals all over the place. I'm trying to make one environment that's as similar as human possible so that we have the ability to get people to move and to change and to shift, right? If you read the .com Secrets book, I talk about the lifeline of a lead and how as you're moving people through the process and you're trying to increase the ticket price, what you're selling somebody, as you go higher up the value ladder and people are spending more money with you, traditionally you have to change the environment that they're in, right? Because when you're online and you're selling something, they're buying a book, like they have their credit card there, this is their world, this is the domain, they're coming there, sending credit card out, they're buying it, but they control the situation. They can stop it, they can end it at any time, right? So like they have 100% control over the environment. When you are coming and you're trying to persuade someone, you need to you have to access that control that environment as much as you can. That's why we take people off of a VSL, we take them off of a thing into an event, into a Zoom, into a live event, onto a phone call, different places where the environment's now controlled 50-50 versus you have 100% control. Because if you control the environment, that's the biggest thing. It's actually interesting if you read, Ben Hardy wrote a book called Willpower Doesn't Work. And what he talked about in psychology is like they learned of all the different things you can do to try to like change human behavior. The biggest thing you can do consistently is actually changing the environment. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna be more motivated and wake up early. It's like changing the environment and everything else changes, maybe becomes simpler, right? If a lot of you guys are struggling right now, like look around the environment. Are you in an environment that's conducive to what you're trying to do? If not, you got to change things, right? I've done this all the times in my office. So I'll get into a rut. I'm like, I'm in a rut. We're moving my desk. We'll like move the desk, throw things away, change, like we like build a brick wall, move things around, like just shift things around, like, new environment. Now I have new change, new energy, new things like that. So environment has so much to do with what you're doing. So as a speaker, as a presenter, you're trying to take as much control as you can. And so social compliance, getting people all in the same kind of thing, it gives you the ability to have some semblance of control of the environment that you don't have typically, okay? So that's social compliance. How many of you guys are gonna watch The Push this weekend? How many of you guys are scared to death and you're like, I am not going to watch that, Russell, no matter what you try to get me to do? Either way, it's a fascinating documentary on human psychology. So, okay, next thing. Next note I have here is called Controlling the Pre-Frame. There's a really good book called Persuasion that Robert Cialdini wrote. I learned this initially from my first mentor, Mark Joyner, though. I remember he was the very first offer I ever bought. It was a $1,000 course when I was making $0 an hour, and my wife was making $9.50 an hour supporting me. And I told you guys that story day one. It was the first course I ever bought. I was so scared. I remember buying it. It was more money than we had in the world. And because I bought it, I was like, I have to implement this. So I started studying and listening and learning and going crazy with it. And one of the things it came with a CD set with Mark interviewing all these people who were the top gurus at the time. Someone asked him about traffic and stuff like that. And I remember Mark talked about this thing. He said, not all clicks are created equal. And at first I didn't understand what he was talking about because I was kind of new to the whole marketing world. He's like, not all clicks are created equal. He's like, for example, he's like, I have a sales page, right? And the sales page doesn't change at all. Because like the click that someone clicks on before they come to the sales page is different, right? So imagine if you go to a page and you see an ad and the ad says, hey, there's this guy named Russell Brunson and he is a scam artist. I went to his event. He didn't fulfill what he promised. He took my money. He stole my wife. He like whatever, blah, blah, blah. I hate Russell Brunson. I hope he dies. He just launched a new product. Click here to go check it out, right? If you read that pre-frame, you click on the button and you go over there, you're probably not going to buy it, right? But if you see different ads like, I went to Russell Brunson's event. I listened to what he said. I applied one of the 500 strategies he gave me. It made me $1 million. Now I'm working on number 2. It's insane. If you haven't done my number 1 yet, you should number 1. Here's a link where you can get it at a huge discount. Click here. Someone clicks on that and they come over to the exact same page. Which one's going to convert higher, right? The sales page is the same. The offer is the same. Everything else is the same. Nothing else is different. Only thing is different is the pre-frame that someone entered into that page through, okay? So not all clicks are created equal. Now this is important to understand because if you think of like, again, I see the whole world as funnels. Like, so everything in my mind is just a funnel. Like everything from an event to like everything is a funnel. So that's my perspective. But if I think about that, the entire goal of a funnel, every single step in a funnel, the goal of it is each step is a pre-frame for the next step, which is pre-frame for the next step, which is pre-frame for the next step, which is pre-frame for the next step. Does that make sense? So we're always controlling these different frames. So you think about just this event, for example, right? First thing I do is I wanted to teach you guys about one-to-many selling. So I'm like, I have to control the frame. So if I'm like, hey guys, come in, I'm gonna teach you one-to-many selling. None of you guys are bought, right? Because who cares? So first thing is I have to create a pre-frame. Like what's the frame that someone's gonna come into that event through? So the very first step we did is like, okay, what social proof do I have that I'm good at this, right? And so we found that stuff. And if you go to sellingonline.com and watch the video that sells, like that became the very first piece we made. It was like, this is the pre-frame that's gonna set up the people wanting to buy, right? So I made that video, I watched it after the team made it, I was like, this is awesome. This is a great pre-frame, right? So the pre-frame, wrote the sales letter for the event, right? Then we had to go back a step, say, okay, now what's the pre-frame I'm gonna send somebody through before they get to there, right? And there's different pre-frames. There's an email that's gonna be a pre-frame, right? There's gonna be an ad that's a pre-frame. There's all these different things, but everyone's a frame that I'm setting up to get them to the next frame that sets up the next thing that sets up the next thing, right? So I'm looking through, I'm thinking about each of these pieces individually from the funnel. Like, what's the frame that gets them to click? What's the frame that gets them to convert? What's the frame that gets them to buy the upsell? What's the frame that gets them to actually show up here on the event? What gets them to show up every single day, right? And then each session is a pre-frame for the next session. Each session is a pre-frame for the next. It's like everything we're doing is pulling people through step by step by step by step, right? It's crazy. We're looking at attendance from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. Like the show up rate from day 1 to day 2, it was like 85% of people on day 1, was 85% show up to day 2, which is insane, which means we did a good job of the frame of day number 1. Because you committed, think about this, you guys committed like 8.5, 9 hours on day number 1. And it's very easy at that point, like, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I'm good. But 85% of you guys came back for a whole number day number 2. And haven't seen the stats yet for today, but like the next step is the same thing, right? So it's going from thing to thing to thing. It's crazy, but controlling the pre-frames is a huge part of this advanced persuasion, is understanding that everything you're doing is a pre-frame for the next, and for the next, and for the next. Even this event, okay? This event is a pre-frame for this event and this offer. Like, all you guys who joined the $10,000 offer, like, it's just a pre-frame. My entire goal is to serve you at such a high level at $10,000 that you're like, this is insane. Russell just gave, like, this is like, what else does he have? Okay, think about this. I remember Dan Henry, he bought the .com secret. I can't remember if I told the story now. It's been a long couple days, but he bought the .com secrets book. He learned how to do webinar from it. He launched a webinar. He made like $3 million in sales. And one day he messaged me. He's like, hey man, I want to join your inner circle. I'm like, cool. It's $50,000. Here's the info, right? He wired me $50,000. And then the first event he didn't show up to. I'm like, that's weird. Second event he didn't show up to. So I text him like, hey Dan, like, you joined inner circle. You paid 50 grand to be here. Are you going to come? He's like, oh, no. I'm like, do you want your money back? He's like, no. He's like, dude, I got so much value from your first book. I feel so guilty. I just felt like I needed to give you more money. So I joined the inner circle just to make the reciprocity, like the balances of whatever feel equal. I was like, that's insane. And he never showed up to a single meeting ever, not even one. Okay? And that's what I want to do. Like every single step in like every offer is a pre-frame for the next offer. Like I want to serve you guys at such a high level that you're like, this is insane. Okay? Like when we sold Course Secrets, we went through, I think it was $500, an amazing course, right? And then we invited Course Secrets people to here. I told them, if you bought Course Secrets, we'll take $500. Like I want them to have the next experience. I want you guys to win 10,000. Like this is insane. This is so good. Like I want the next thing. What's the next thing? Well, next is the Prime Mover Mastermind, right? You come to the Mastermind, and you can come out 3 times a year to Boise, Idaho. We're going to hang out and network and mastermind as a group. That's the next thing, right? And if you have a great experience there, and you're like, this is insane. I love it. Like, cool. What's next? Like, well, that's a pre-frame for my next thing, which is my inner circle, right? And so then some of you guys are going to come into the inner circle and you go to that experience. And if I blow your minds at that level, you're like, this is insane. I gave Russell 50 grand and I made 25 million. I want the next level. And then you're going to send up to like, what else do you have? It's like, oh, I got this thing called Category Kings for 150 grand. You're like, I'm in. And then from there, I have this thing called Atlas called 250 grand. And people keep going through. So everything I'm doing is a pre-frame for the next. And so it's understanding that, like, that's why it's so important to like, to be nice to people all the time. We deal with a lot of speakers in this world. We were joking about during the break. And it's crazy. There's people who are on stage are like this kind of person, and then off stage, they are not that person. You're just like, wow, you are a horrible person. You're great on stage, but you have no soul. That's like we feel like, and it's interesting because if you're not like authentic and you're not actually like a good person, like the pre-frame falls apart eventually, right? Because like you can't keep faking it forever. And it's just like, but if you keep showing up as yourself and you're here just to provide value and do that kind of stuff, like it becomes a pre-frame for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, right? It's just a dumb, simple thing, but that's the best persuasion you can have, right? What's interesting, I remember Dan Kennedy told me, so that people will continue to buy from you until you either stop offering them things or you offend them. And so it's like, if you keep offering things, you keep providing value, people want the next level, next level, next level. And so that's the big key with the pre-frame. So, okay. Next one on my list here. Next I'll talk about are loops. You guys know what loops are? You can open a loop and you can close the loop. You can open a loop and you can close the loop. I first learned this from Mark Joyner, again, my first mentor. He wrote a book called Mind Control Marketing. It's still one of my favorite. I remember I had just gotten into this game and I bought a copy of this book. And it shows up, it's black. It's got this hypnosis thing on it. I was like, mind control marketing. It's so cool. And I feel bad. He doesn't really sell it anymore. He didn't want to be known as like the mind control guy, but the book was really, really cool. And anyway, it was one of the very first things I read in this world and got me in the marketing world and got me really excited. And in the book, he has a chapter, talks about this concept. He calls it the Zeigarnik effect. I probably said that wrong, but it's called the Zeigarnik effect. And what it was, he said that basically what happens is that they studied all these different people. I think the person they were studying, either the researcher, her name was Zeigarnik, or that was, anyway. But what she was doing is she'd go to restaurants and she'd watch servers, right? And they go to a table and they're taking someone's order and like, hey, what do you want to order? And the person would give them like these detailed orders, like, I want this with this, and they're taking the orders. And so what happened, that would go in that person's mind and there was this open loop, and the servers, for the most part, would have perfect memory of it. They'd go back, they plug it into the system, the cooks would make it, they bring it all out, they know exactly who gets what, they put it all down, and as soon as everyone's got the thing, then the loop closes, and then they don't remember the thing later. But while the loop is open, they have perfect immediate recall of every single thing that happened, right? And so that was kind of the concept of the Zeigarnik effect, if I said it right. And then Mark, the way he liked it, he talked about opening and closing loops. He said, what happens is when you start talking to somebody, right, what happens is that if I start telling you a story, I'm opening a loop, right? And he says, what happens in the human mind, when the loop gets open, it's like, okay, this loop's open, and it sits there, it's waiting for you to close the loop. It wants the loop closed, really bad. But if the loop's open, it's gonna sit there, and it's gonna pay attention until the loop is closed, right? And so you're sitting there like waiting, and finally, eventually, the loop gets closed, right? So then you're opening a loop, and you're closing a loop. You're opening a loop and a closing loop. Now, if you have been following me for any amount of time, you may not be aware of this yet, but you will become very aware of this. I am a master at opening loops and then closing loops. But before I ever close the loop, I open a new loop, okay? So what happens? Russell tells us, right, I open a loop, get you really excited, ooh, this is really, really cool. And then I place it aside, I start telling you a story. Da-da-da-da-da-da, and I get you all excited. And then in the story, I open up a new loop. And you're like, oh, and I got 2 loops that are open. And then what happens is I'll take this loop over here and I'll close the loop. And you're like, oh, I feel closure over here, but I've still got a loop open. And you're like, oh. And then I tell another story, and then I was happening to open a new loop, and then I come over here and I close this loop, and I open a new loop, and I close the loop. But there's always an open loop somewhere. Because of that, you can't stop paying attention. You're like, what is happening? My brain can't function because, like, what's happening, right? Do you notice when I started this morning, first thing I did was open loops. How many of you guys want to come here next time? How many of you guys like a free ticket here? How many of you guys would like to be able to be in this room with me? Cool. I'll talk about it later. Open the loop, and you're like, duh. And some of you guys even forgot about it consciously that this loop is open, but your elephant's freaking out over there, like, close the loop. There's a story, and I have not got the end of it yet. Like, freaking out, right? Like, I need to go and take a lunch break. I can't because this loop is still open. You're freaking out just waiting and waiting. Okay, you watch good TV shows, reality TV shows, for example. Reality are the best in the world of this, okay? I'm not going to admit, I will not confirm nor deny the fact that every once in a while The Bachelor plays in my house or Bachelorette. But if it was to be on in the background when I'm not paying attention, if you watch what they do, right? They tell this story, and they're building up a story, and they're opening this loop, and they're like, cut to commercial. Like, oh, you're like, right? And you're like, I have to watch the commercial, or like, I can't leave because I need them to close this loop, and they don't ever close the loop, right? And then what happens then is next session starts, they start going, new loops open, and then they close the loop. Like, oh, I feel good. They suffer. I feel horrible again, right? And they keep dragging you from commercial to commercial to commercial. And then what happens in all the reality shows, if you ever notice, in the last decade or so, they shifted. They used to end the show with like whatever the thing was. Like they'd vote the person off the island. They give away the rose ceremony. It would be the last thing of the series or the show. But the problem with that is when they closed the loop and the loop was closed, it was hard to get people to watch the next show. So somewhere along life, you notice reality show, they all got smart. What they do is they close the loop. The rose ceremony doesn't happen at the hour mark, it happens at the 40-minute mark. So the rose ceremony ends, then they start the next episode, get you rehooked, open a bunch of new loops, and then it cuts to the end. And then up next week on blah, 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 loop, 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 close it down. You're like, what am I supposed to do for a week before the show starts again? And for a week, you're sitting there like, I can't even sleep at night, I'm stressing out, like this is horrible, right? So that's the feeling that's happening on reality shows all the time. It's happening on TV, like the media is great at this, TV is great at this, okay? But you gotta do it all the time. I do it in my emails, in my social media, do it in my webinars, my live events, my sessions, like I'm always doing that. Opening loops, closing loops, opening loops, closing loops, okay? And so that's something to think about. So next time you watch me do a webinar, or when you watch the replays of the event, or if you guys come at next month when we do, or go to Fun Hiking Live, notice me doing this. Notice like, oh, Russell opened a loop. There's a loop. When's he gonna close it? Is he closing right now? And like by the time I close, like, oh, he's opened 3 more loops in between. Dang it. Okay, it keeps happening. Open loop, close loop, open loop, close. Is that making sense, you guys? Okay. You can do this with your kids. You can do it with your spouse. It works really good as well. It's really, really fun. So anyway, but opening and closing loops, this is how you get people to pay attention. It's even like if you look at, I talked about webinar registration pages, right? I told you guys that like, to increase webinar conversion rates on a registration page is all about curiosity. Why is that? Because curiosity is I'm opening a loop they can't close. If the registration for webinar is like, come on my webinar, I'm gonna teach you how to do a webinar. It's like, okay, well, they're gonna teach me how to do a webinar. Loop is closed, right? If I'm like, come on this presentation, I'm gonna show you guys the one secret I did that helped me to do blah, 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 without blah, 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 blah. No, it's not this, or this. You're like, what is that? I don't know. Loop's open, but it's not closed. Like, your brain, your elephant here is like freaking out. Like, you have to be on that call. You're like, I don't want to. Like, okay, fine, I'll register, but I'm not gonna do it. Like, you have to be there. Like, start tomorrow. Like, you need to know the answer to this question. Like, fine, okay, I will be there. And so if you're getting low show-up rates, this means you're not opening enough loops to close the loops on the thing, right? If people aren't sticking, it's because there's no open loops that are like, all these opening and closing loops is what keeps people engaged, tied in, showing up, paying attention. Okay, I opened up so many loops in day number 1, you just had to come to day number 2. I had so many day number 2, you had to come to day number 3. And right now, I've opened so many right now that you guys have to join the coaching program because I'm going to close them all in the coaching program, right? Did you even notice, though, by the way, when I first came in here, what is the first thing I did? I talked about VIP room, okay, give you some FOMO for those who didn't sign up. I talked about, hey, and my first thing is open loops, right? I was like, somebody asked about the email sequences we did, which is a great question. Like, how many of you guys want the email sequences? Cool, well, for the Prime Mover, those in Prime Mover Foundation, next week I'm gonna put all the email sequences in there so you got them. So open a loop, and the Prime Movers who bought it, I closed like, sweet, I got it. Everyone else is like, duh. And the good news for you guys, if you haven't bought it, you still can. Go to sellingonline.com/go, right? But opening, closing loops, like it's always this little tease that keeps you exciting and relevant. It's kind of like, do you guys watch Seinfeld? Do you remember when George Costanza does the whole thing like, where he like leaves his keys behind. So he comes back in. He's like, eventually, he's like, I loop them, and then they're stuck with me. Or anyway, I'll find the clip next time. We'll show you guys. Okay, open and closing loops. Are you guys enjoying this so far? This fun? Okay. This was a session I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go, how I was going to do, but hopefully these are really good ideas for you. Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about, this is the concept called trial closes. This is a really interesting one. I'd heard people talk about trial closes before, but I didn't actually ever know what that meant. Like I didn't have context. I just heard people say that word before. And there's a speaker, his name's Ted Thomas, and he sold like a real estate product, whatever, but he's famous. In fact, they used to call him the Pied Piper. And there's videos, if you go to YouTube and type in Ted Thomas closing or Ted Thomas, anyway, you can see videos of him. He would go to these Robert Kiyosaki events, and he was so good at selling that he would get a line of people, and he'd be walking to the back table to buy, and he'd have his hand in there with an order form, and there'd be a line of people behind him, all with their credit cards, like waving their hand, and he'd be walking them to the back of the room, okay, called the Pied Piper. And I'd heard rumors about this, I'd seen videos of it and everything, but I never met him in person. I knew what he looked like. And so I'm in Florida at this event, speaking, doing the Russell Brunson pitch, going through the whole thing. It was like, I think it was pre-ClickFunnels. Anyway, so I had an offer. Yeah, it was definitely pre-ClickFunnels because it was DCS Local. So, and at the time, I had an auto webinar called .com Secrets Local that was converting, it was doing really well on an auto webinar, right? In fact, I remember the numbers because we put this in the 108 split test book. It was making $9.60 for every single person who registered for the webinar, okay? So then I go to this event, I'm doing my presentation, I do my pitch, and as I'm starting to go, I look out in the audience and I see him, Ted Thomas, sitting in the back right there. I was like, oh, the Pied Piper's in the room. I was like, what do I do? Like, it's like if you're a basketball player and you're like playing a game, you look over Michael Jordan's watching, you're like, oh no, like, is my form right? What am I doing? Like, how do, so I'm seeing Ted Thomas sitting right there. I was just like, oh no. But I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't talk to him. I'm in the middle of a pitch. So I just go through the whole thing. I do the pitch. Everything gets done. People go and they buy. Everyone leaves for lunch. And then Ted's sitting there and he comes up to me after I'm done. He's like, Russell, that was a great presentation. My name's Ted Thomas. I'm like, I know who you are. I'm a super fan. Like you don't need to tell me who you are. And he's like, do you want to go to lunch? I'm like, yeah, that'd be amazing. So we go to lunch. We're sitting out at lunch, and we start talking. And Ted's asking me these questions about myself, and like I'm answering the questions, we're going back and forth. And my head's nodding like this. We're talking. And then he's like, hey, Russell. I'm like, yeah. He's like, look at your head. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, look at your head. I'm like, what? He's like, you know what's happening? I'm like, no. He's like, you're nodding. I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, do you know why your head's nodding? Like, I don't know. I'm having a spasm in my neck, maybe. I don't know. He's like, no. He's like, I've been trial closing you for the last 10 minutes. I'm like, what do you mean trial closing? And he's like, a trial close is when you ask somebody a question where the only logical answer is yes, and they shake their head yes. He's like, I watched your whole presentation, and it was great. You did great. You converted like, 15% of the room, which isn't bad for a live event. It's probably a little bit low, but it wasn't bad. He's like, but I was sitting in the back of the room watching, and he's like, I noticed that nobody's heads moved the entire time. He's like, if you watch me speak and you sit in the back, he's like, the audience heads look like the waves of the ocean. They're like this the whole time. He's like, guess how I do that? He's like, I do this thing called trial closes. I'm like, I've heard that. What is a trial close? He's like, trial close is just a really simple question. You ask them yes, no, to get them to say yes, yes, yes. And he's like, if you watch my presentations, he's like, I will get somebody through trial closes to say 400, 500, 600, 700 yeses during a 90-minute presentation. So by the time I ask them for money, they've already said yes to me 700 times. They've been nodding their head for an hour and a half. So I asked them for the big yes. They're like, yes. It's so easy to say yes when you've said 700 yeses prior. I was like, how do these trial closes work? And so he said, okay, they're just basic little statements, right? Instead of saying, here's my product, or here's a testimonial, he says, like when I show a testimonial, so I'll show a testimonial. Here's Stacy Martino. So I'll show her testimonial. She talks about it, and I come back like, isn't that awesome? Okay, I said, yes. That is awesome. Can you imagine yourself doing that? Yeah, I could imagine myself that. Like, what would your life be like if that happened to you? Like, would your life be better because of that? Would it be infinitely better? Like, can you imagine what it'd be like? He's like, I dropped 5 trial closes, boom, 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 boom. If you're like, yeah, you said 5 yeses from one testimonial. He's like, next time you give a testimonial, after you give a testimonial, don't just keep rolling on. Stop and drop 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trial closes about that testimonial. And then when you show a feature of the software, and like, the next thing you're gonna get is you're gonna get this really cool bonus. Okay, he's like, after you deliver, like, here's the deliverable, he's like, ask him like 10 trial closes. Like, isn't that awesome? Are you guys getting this? Is this making sense to you? Boom, 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 3 trial closes, right? How many of you guys ever noticed all the time, I'm like, are you guys getting this? Is this making sense to you? right? Yes, I care about making sense to you. Yes, I care about getting you, but the only real reason I'm doing this, I'm trying to get you to say yes, 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 over and over and over again. So he tells me that whole thing. And so I'm fascinated. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. Because I am a hyper student, most coachable person on the planet. So Ted Thomas tells me that before I leave the hotel that day, I have my brother grab my current webinar. It's making $9.60 for everyone who registers. I'm like, Scott, give me the transcripts from it. I need it on the plane. So he gets the transcripts from me, sends me a thing. I print them out. I'm on the plane with the transcripts for my webinars. I'm flying home, looking at the whole thing. I'm reading word for my thing. I was like, where can I insert trial closes into this presentation? I don't want to re-record it, but where can I insert them? I was like 30 seconds time. Ooh, trial close. Is that awesome? Are you guys getting this? So I start writing trial closes. And I go through, boom, 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 next page, next page, next page. Go through the entire presentation, and I write these little trial closes. And I tell my brother, who edits my videos at the time, I was just like, Scott, I don't have time to re-record this webinar, but I'm going to record these 600 trial closes. Here's where we're going to insert them in the presentation. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, oh yeah. And so I sit down and I record. Are you getting this? Can you imagine what that would be like? Wouldn't that be awesome? Who here wants this? You're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Can you imagine what your life would be like if that happened to you? And I just record all of these, right? I sent my brother this audio file with my hand notes on a printout of the transcript. I'm like, good luck. So he spends the next week literally cutting and slicing these little trial closes into the whole entire presentation. And then Todd, who's my co-founder of ClickFunnels, he's hardcore split tester. Nothing we can do unless we're split testing, right? So he sets up a second version of the webinar. So we have the two different versions of the webinar, the A/B split testing, and we start testing, and I told you it was $9.60 for every single person who bought through the regular webinar without trial closes versus $16.40 for people registered through the webinar with the trial closes. Same pitch, same everything. I just inserted trial closes. $9.60, like $16.40. Is that crazy? Trial closes, okay? If you've got the 108 split test book, you can literally see, I have the transcript, I show all the different trial closes I inserted in there, and I have the stats and numbers. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close to those numbers, but if you want to actually see it, again, 108 split test, if you have a copy of that book, you guys can go and get that. I'll drop that in the free community, actually. I'll drop a PDF of that book this weekend for you guys so you can see it, but that's what trial closes are. So after I got that, I was like, this is amazing. So I called Ted Thomas up, how do I do, give me all your trial closes. And he's like, there's millions of them. I'm not going to give you a list of them. He's like, this is what I found out though. He's like, what you got to do initially is you have to make this part of your language patterns, right? Because it's going to be hard for you to insert trial close here. And so he said that he did, he's like, when I first did it, I just got a big old stack of note cards and I started writing out all my different trial closes. And when I speak at an event, I would take them and I would literally just throw them all over the ground on the stage, all over the place. And then I give it a presentation, I walk around and when I would step on a trial close, look down like, are you guys getting this? Okay. Can you imagine what life would be like if you did this? And he's just stepping on these cards, and then from there, he's dropping these trial closes. And so I was like, that's a really good idea. And I thought, well, I do mostly webinars, so I thought for my next webinar, I'd do something similar. So I got a little sticky note pads, and I wrote as many trial closes as I think of on sticky notes, and I stuck them all over my monitor where I'm doing my presentation, to the point where all I can see my slides in the middle, and there's sticky notes all over the side of these trial closes. And so I click record on the webinar, like, what's everyone, welcome to the webinar. Are you guys getting this? How many of you guys are excited right now? Where are you guys? I started doing these little trial closes. I was just drop trial close, trial close, trial close. Every time I introduce a component of the offer, trial close. Every time I tell a testimonial, trial close, trial close, trial close, trial close. Every time I get something excited about something, trial close, trial close, trial close. Just inserting trial closes like crazy. And it changed everything, right? I was like, this is insane. This is the dumbest thing in the whole world. But you're getting people to say 800 yeses to you. It's really easy to get them to say the big yes, right? So then I remember the first person I told was Natasha Hazlett. So she was one of our friends here in Boise. She was doing webinars at the time. I was like, I got this new thing you should try out. And she's like, what is it? I'm like, it's called trial closes. Explain the whole thing to her. She's like, okay, I'm in. And so she did her next event. She was on a stage like this. And she's the same thing. She actually did the note card thing, got note cards all over the stage. And she walked around and she said, trial close, trial close, trial close. She calls me the next day. It crushed the whole event, crushed it. She's like, it was insane. And she said, the craziest thing, I kept asking people, because she's like, I can only remember a couple of them. So I kept asking people, are you guys getting this? Are you guys getting this? Because like, that's what I can remember really easily. And then she's like, afterwards, people came to me like, man, it was so cool how important it was for you that we understood what you were talking about. You kept asking if we were getting this. I felt so heard and that you actually cared about me. And I remember she told me that. She's like, it's so fascinating because we're asking these questions and they're saying yes, and it makes people feel more rapport. It's getting them saying yes, right? Right? You guys getting this? Is this making sense to you guys? All right, there's 5 trial closes. Boom. So notice that as you watch my presentations, like trial close, trial close. Right now, I don't think about it. They just come out all the time. Even my wife, first time she was at an event, and my wife's not big into our business at all, but she was at an event and I was talking about trial closes. And then that night I was saying something. She's like, are you trial closing me? I was like, I think so, but not on purpose, I swear. It just becomes part of your language patterns. It just becomes part of what you do. So trial closes are so simple and so powerful and so awesome, okay? All right, there's trial closes. Lisa said this is genius. Thank you, Lisa, I appreciate that. Okay, trial closes are awesome. All right, you wanna keep keep going? I got a bunch more stuff, or we can be done. I'm good either way. Awesome. You guys wave your hands at home if you just want to keep going. I want to see this. All right, fine, we'll keep going. Okay. Next one is kind of like bridges. I talk about this in Expert Secrets, okay? But this is the key. When you're teaching stuff, right? This is the biggest problem with educators, is we think that, like, we want to sound smart. So we like to use big words, right? Especially when you go to college, you see the big professors, and they use these big, huge words, like, what is he talking about? I remember sitting in classes, and people are talking, I'm looking around like, do you guys understand these words? I have no idea what are you talking about. You know, they're using it anyway. And I remember I was getting stuck on that. And it's fascinating though, because people think to sound smarter, they want to use bigger words. But the reality is, if you want to persuade people and influence people, it's not about using bigger words. It's about making things simpler. In fact, I remember, this is probably 2 election cycles ago. I think it was when Donald Trump was running against, who was the first person he ran against? I'm still not into politics. Clinton. Was it Hillary? Yeah. Anyway, whatever it was, but it was during the primary, so it was in the Republican side. So anyway, whoever the primaries were, I think it was McCain. Was McCain? Anyway, I don't know, whatever. But they took the speeches, and there's a couple sites. I think Hemingway is one of them, a couple ones where you can take a presentation or a speech and you run it through, and it shows you what grade level the communication styles are at, right? And what most people do, especially politicians, they're speaking like an 8th, 9th grade level, and they're speaking. And you look at Trump's, it was like at a 3rd grade level. And it's fascinating because if you look at like persuasion, you want to persuade someone, you can't, like, you have to speak like a 2nd or 3rd grade level. Like, that's the level of communication to get people to bond with you, connect, so you can persuade them and you can move them. So what happens though is we start using these big terms, especially if you're in any kind of business that needs big terms, right? And so the problem is, like, we say this word as we're telling the story, our Epiphany Bridge story, and we just drop this word because it's second nature to us. We know what it is, and we assume everyone else does. We say the word, but it's technobabble to them, right? And as soon as someone hears a technobabble word they don't understand, it just stops them. They're like, whoa, what does that mean? And they get confused, and then they're off the train. They miss the train of your story, and the rest of it doesn't make any sense to them, right? So what we have to do is we have to, like, anytime there's something that's beyond a 3rd grade level, a word, a phrase, a concept that people are not going to just know by default, every time we hit something like that, we have to stop, and then we do what we call a kind of like bridge, okay? And so a good example of this is when I did the sales video for Prove It, we were teaching this concept about ketones. And nowadays, more people know what ketones are, but if you go back in time 10 years ago, Prove It and this video launched the ketosis movement. Like, prior to this, there wasn't, like, people weren't talking about ketosis. We launched the company, we launched this thing, and it became, for the next 5 years, it was the diet fad, was ketones and ketosis and that kind of stuff, right? And when I was writing this pitch, I was like, when it comes to ketones or some of these phrases, like, no one knows what these are. So I would do the video, but I had to use the word because that's what the word is, right? So I'm like, blah, 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 ketones. And I stopped right there. I said, it's kind of like a million little motivational speakers running through your body, getting you like really, really excited. Because people understand what a motivational speaker is, right? So I hit a word that's going to be confusing. I stop and I say, it's kind of like, and I insert something that they're going to know, right? And so that's what kind of like bridges. So when you look at your stories, look at your presentations, this is the key. Is like, every time you hit something that's complex, you stop and say, it's kind of like this. Now, one of the people, Ryan Lee and Brad Gibb came into my world, 6 or 7 years ago. They were financial planners. They were very, very smart, way smarter than all the rest of us. And they wanted to come and do webinars. And I started like watching their presentations. And it was like so much technobabble. I was just like, I don't understand what you're saying. And they're like, Russ, what do you mean? Like, you're very smart. You're very educated. I'm like, I don't know half these words you use. Like, you keep thinking we know what you're talking about. None of us do, right? And they're like, but this is what it's called. I'm like, you have to understand. So like, and for them, it took a while. It took multiple years. And finally, it came down to like, you guys, every single one of these words that people like me don't understand. Because I'm your dream client. I've got tons of money. I need to invest it. I don't know how to invest it because all you guys talk to me with all this technobabble and you freak me out. So I don't give any of you guys my money. So instead of sitting in a bank or I'm buying books on eBay, because I'm not investing anything because you guys are so complicated. It's like, really? I'm like, that's most of us. Like, we're really good at making money, not good at investing money. Right? But you're speaking to us like investors and we are entrepreneurs. Like, if you want us, people like me to understand, you have to get rid of all the technobabble. And I'm so proud of them. They sat down for their 90-minute webinar for the 3-day event and went through every single concept by concept, and they found a kind of like bridge for every single one of them. It was insane. And you watch their presentation now, dude, it is so good. They went from being the worst of the worst to literally, I think, of all the people who have matched us, they are the best of the best. And you watch their presentations. Every time they explain a concept, boom, it's kind of like this. Boom, it's kind of like this. By the time you're done, like, I feel like a genius. I know how to invest money. This is the greatest thing in the world, right? Because you make people feel smart because you're speaking to them at 3rd grade level, okay? Anyway, I should have those guys come and do a presentation. First off, you all should buy what they have. And the second off, so you can see how they did it. And for them, it was constantly sitting down, looking at the presentation, like, here's where they're gonna get stuck, here's where they're gonna get stuck, here's where they're gonna get stuck. What kind of story do we have that we could do here? I remember the very first one I kind of helped them with was, this probably isn't the best example, but it's one. Like, they're talking about investing, right? And I was like, people like me, I hear investing, and I'm like, it just seemed overwhelming. It's like, investing seems overwhelming. I'm like, yeah, I'm really good at making money, but investing is such a black box. And then I remember I was watching 30 Rock. Have you guys seen 30 Rock back in the day? And Liz Lemon was talking to, what's her boss's name? Alec Baldwin, yeah. And she comes up to him and she made a little bit of money for something. She goes to Baldwin. She's like, I want to do the thing that rich people do where they turn money into more money. And he's like, oh, investing? He's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, that's the kind of like bridge. So like their webinar changed from like, here's how to be investing. So like, I'm going to teach you guys that thing that rich people do where they turn money into more money. It's called investing, right? And all of a sudden, boom, now it's like people like me like, oh, I have money. You're going to turn into more money? I'm in. It's called investing. Oh, cool. Like, but the kind of like bridge breaks those gaps, breaks those barriers, brings you down to the level, makes it so that they seem genius. Like people feel like a genius when they're here listening to you because they all understand it. And that's when they're going to move with you, when they're going to invest with you, when they're going to buy from you. Okay. So look at your presentation. Look at every single time you hit something that you're going to get stuck on. As soon as you hear the word or the phrase, you stop and say, it's kind of like this. I don't know top of my head, but I think if we took the last 3 days and we ran it through ChatGPT, the transcripts, and pulled out the kind of like bridges, I would say between me, even I'd noticed like when Stacy, when all the people were like speaking up here on stage as well, do you notice they were doing kind of like bridges? Very impressed. They're all trained very well. But I noticed they were doing kind of like bridges when they were speaking. So it's like, this is something you got to get better and better and better at. So for me, every time I feel anything where, and I don't know if this is just me or anyone else, but I'm speaking on stage, I can feel stuff. And as soon as I feel like this isn't landing well, I'm looking for a kind of like bridge. That's what I'm like grasping for straws. Like, what's something I explain that people make sense? I'm like, oh, kind of like this. And then boom, and then it releases that pressure and we keep moving through the presentation. So that's kind of like bridges are. Are you guys getting this? You got it? Yeah. All right. It feels good? Yeah? Can you imagine doing a kind of like bridge inside your business? What would that be like? Can you imagine you do kind of like, people are so confused and you do the kind of like bridge and then afterwards they understand it and they feel free? Can you imagine that be like? Like, how would you feel about that? Would you feel like you could change the world? Yeah, right? Boom, 5 trial closes. Okay, keep going. All right, next up. All right, hypnosis and NLP. These are two things. When I first got into this business, back in the day, I started learning speaking. People talked about hypnosis and NLP. In fact, opening and closing loops, that's the NLP concept. There's things like that. So I studied a lot of it pretty heavily for a year when I was first learning how to speak from stage. I've incorporated a lot of those things, and I've been doing now for a decade, and I don't always remember what all of them are or what discipline they fall in, so I'm probably gonna mess some of these things up, but the concepts are still the same. In the free members group, the Selling Online members group, if you go to the courses tab, there's a section called Value Post by Russell, and you click on that, it has a bunch of posts. And I made a post last week. I posted a video, it's an hour-long video, called Inception Secrets. And it's a presentation I did before we launched ClickFunnels. It was back when I was first like studying this stuff and getting into it. And I did this thing, and the whole goal is like, how do we tell stories in a way that cause inception inside people's minds? And in there, I talked a lot about hypnosis, NLP, and like those things were top of my mind at the time. So if you go back and you watch that, I'll probably explain some of these things better because it was top of mind. Now I do these things, again, it's typically like, I'm not thinking about them, but they're just weaved into my language patterns, so they happen often. But so I'm gonna kind of do my best to kind of go through these with you, okay? So hypnosis, so this is not like hypnosis, like you are getting very, very sleepy. But all hypnosis really is, if we go, I'm gonna warn the camera guys as soon as I'm walking across the stage. Last time I walked, okay, there you go. If you look at what hypnosis actually is, it's basically just giving you the ability to bypass the conscious mind to speak directly to the subconscious. Like that's kind of what hypnosis really is, right? And so I'm having a conversation with the subconscious mind. So you look at like a really good hypnotist, all they're doing is like, you're getting sleep, whatever they're doing. Like they're trying to figure out people who are prone to be able to like shut the emotional logic off and allow them to speak directly here. And they give suggestions to the subconscious mind, and they give the suggestions here. And this is why people are like, dance like a chicken. These are like weird things they wouldn't normally do. It's because they're speaking directly to the subconscious mind, right? And so people who are great hypnotists, like stage hypnotists, street hypnotists, like they're amazing. I have a lot of friends that are really good at this. And it's fun watching some of the crazy stuff they do, but that's literally what's happening. So when I am using hypnosis when I'm speaking from stage, it's the same kind of thing, right? But when I think about this, whenever I think about hypnosis, I think about if you watch like the stage hypnotist, right, they're doing commands. So they get the person hypnotized and like, all right, you're getting very tired, you're getting sleepy, you're doing this thing, right? And they're telling them what to do, right? It's very much like I'm embedding a command to the subconscious mind. And so when I'm speaking a lot of times, what I'll do is like, I can tell when I'm in a story and people are in a trance, and all trance is that these guys are kind of in limbo, hanging out, and I'm just talking here, right? So I'm telling the story, people are in trance, they're feeling it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna speak directly. Now that I've opened that door and that conduit to the subconscious mind, then I can use hypnotic language to talk to them specifically, right? And so what I might do, for example, is let's say I'm doing a 3-day event. If I'm telling a story, I get in there, now that I have the attention to the subconscious mind, I might say something like, the next 3 days is gonna be happening, and traditionally 3 days seems like a long time, but while we're here together, it's gonna seem short. In fact, you're gonna feel like this is gonna go by in an instant. It's not gonna feel like we're spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day. It's gonna feel like in 30 minutes or an hour. And by the time you're done, you're not gonna be tired and overwhelmed and stressed out. You're gonna feel great, you're gonna feel happy, you're gonna be so excited and exhilarated because of the state that we're in right now. And by the time you're gonna feel free, you're gonna feel excited, and you're gonna have so much energy and momentum that when we move into the weekend, you're gonna have the ability to feel like you can take over the world. Okay? It's just an embedded command. And I'm just telling you, like, I'm trying to help you to compress time, take away that stress and anxiety as we're going through this, right? And so that's why I use hypnosis in a presentation. And I use it in different times. I didn't do it yesterday effectively, but traditionally at Funnel Hacking Live, you'll notice when I'm doing my stage presentation and I'm trying to get somebody to buy, this is typically on day number 2 of an event. So I know that I'm trying to get them to buy, and they're gonna go to sleep that night, and next morning they're gonna wake up, right? So I did the emotional pitch. I know that they're gonna have that night to sleep about it, and the next morning I'm doing the logical pitch, right? So if I know that's gonna be happening, what I wanna do is I try to do hypnotic commands to your subconscious mind for those who don't buy. So I'll say something like, now for those of you guys right now who are trying to decide, you're on the fence thinking about what's gonna happen, this is what's gonna happen. Tonight, for those of you guys who don't sign up, for those guys who do sign up tonight, you're gonna have the best sleep ever. You're gonna know that you decided, you made a commitment, you cut off other options, you decided to move forward with this, and you're gonna sleep so good tonight, it's gonna be amazing. Now, for those guys who don't know what's gonna happen tonight, you're gonna be stressed out, thinking about what's possible, what could happen in your life. If you were to actually take the leap of faith, how could your life change forever? And I know it's scary, but imagine what's gonna happen, okay? And so tonight, you're gonna be restless, you're gonna be sleepless until you decide to make that commitment. As soon as you make that commitment, you're gonna have a chance to fall asleep. You're gonna sleep like a baby tonight. But until you do, it's gonna be restless, it's gonna be hard for you to sleep, okay? And then tomorrow morning, you're gonna come back and you're gonna know that it's time to make the commitment, and then you're gonna make that commitment, right? So I do that a lot of times where I'm trying to talk to the subconscious mind and let them know, like, you're not gonna be able to sleep good tonight if you don't do this. And sure enough, that's what happens. In fact, someone told me in the VIP group, they signed up during the break, and they said last night, they're like, I could not sleep all night long. I was stressed out. I was thinking about it. I couldn't sleep, and and that's what's happening, right? So these are like ways that I'm using hypnosis, right? It's just whenever I'm flipping in my head to hypnosis mode, I'm thinking embedded commands like hypnosis do. You're getting sleepy. You're going to do this thing. Tonight, you're going to go to bed. If you bought and you signed up, you made a decision, you're going to feel great about the whole thing. If you didn't buy, what's going to happen is this. And then you're going to feel this. And then you're going to think about this, right? So those are some of the core things. Time structure, time distortion. Yeah. So hope that helps. Again, if you go back and watch that presentation, that'll give you probably more tangible ideas, but that's typically how I'm weaving hypnosis into a presentation. Is that making sense? You guys getting this? Yeah. So hypnosis is projecting that, yeah. So those of you guys who did buy today, congratulations, you're gonna sleep so good tonight. For those who are still on the fence, you do know it's a VIP day tomorrow, which is awesome. You already missed out on the Wizard of Oz session, which I feel bad about, but the good news is when you go to bed tonight, you're still thinking about it, the link will still be live. That link will be live till Sunday at midnight, and then it's gone forever. Maybe not, probably not forever, but it's gone for a while until we redo this event in a month from now. But if you guys want to, like, now is the time to get in there, right? And so when you make that decision, you will sleep like a baby, and it'll be amazing. And then your kids will think you're a hero. You'll feel better. Anyway, yeah. So that's some of the hypnosis stuff, okay? All right, very cool. So next is NLP. NLP is neuro-linguistics programming. And there's a million things, again, a decade ago, I studied this, I weaved this in my presentations. A lot of what's happening in Perfect Webinars NLP is already weaved into what we're doing. There's one thing specifically I wanted to talk about that is fascinating, especially if you're speaking on stage versus just during a webinar. It's timelines and it's anchoring, okay? So, I can't remember which NLP book I was reading, but they were telling the story about Robin Williams. How many of you guys know Robin Williams? Yes? Okay, so Robin Williams, one of the best comedic actors of all time, they said that what he would do when he would speak at an event is he would anchor something. He'd take a chair right here, and he'd place it right here. And what he'd do is he would tell a joke, he'd talk about a joke, we got the punchline of the joke, he'd come over, and he'd rest on it, and he would deliver the punchline of the joke, anchoring this right here. Then he'd come back, he'd tell the next joke, set it all, come back here. So then he'd tell the story, he anchors it, boom, and he'd tell the joke again. And he'd do that 4, 5, 6 times in a row, and eventually he'd stop, and he'd walk over to the table, and he'd come right here, he puts his hand on the thing, and people would just start laughing. Okay, it's like Pavlov's dog, right? Like they feed him and also salivates, feed him and salivates, okay? So that's how comedians are really good. They do that. They'll anchor something on stage and they come back to it and they anchor it, boom, they come back and they anchor it. Now, if you look at Funnel Hacking Live, when I speak, the first thing you'll notice is, and this is true not just at Funnel Hacking Live, but I speak at other people's events as well. I look at the layout of the room, right? And if I'm selling something in the back of the room, there's usually gonna be a table that I'm trying to get people to run to, and then there's an exit they can take, right? Table to run to, exit they can take. Okay, so I know that, I want to start anchoring these two different things. So every time I'm talking about my life, I'm struggling, there's failure, I'm always pointing to the door where people are exiting. I struggle, there's failure, I couldn't figure it out, like no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't be successful. But then I went to this, and then I finally figured out how to have success, anchoring where I want them to go. Then I come back here, anchor where I don't want them to go, negatives, anchoring where I do want them to go positive, back and forth and back and forth. You see that for 90 minutes, subconsciously your elephant's just like, if I want to be successful, I go this way. If I want to fail, I go this way. So I'm consciously doing those things as I do my presentation. I'm figuring things to anchor. I'm pushing negatives here, pushing positives here. Does that make sense? That's the way you can use anchoring when you're doing presentations from stage. Other thing I do a lot in NLP, there's a deeper science to this than what I'm using it for. Like if you look at like Tony Robbins, if you go to UPW on day number 3 after the Dickens process, he does a whole timeline hypnosis NLP thing where he's basically taking you look at the timeline of your life and you're going back and you're finding the negative things, you're taking those things and smashing them and replacing them with good things. And so there's a whole medical, psychological thing people do to help you overcome traumas and stuff. I'm not talking about that. But when I first learned about timelines, this is very fascinating. It's a very interesting thing about that. So if you ever notice when I'm on stage and I switch into timeline mode, do you ever notice what happens? I run over here, I'm like, all right, so this is the very beginning, boom, and I set the timeline. This is the ordinary world. And then from here you go over to here, and then from here you go over to here. And so I'm walking through this whole thing, and this is where the journey of transformation happens, okay? You notice I'll set the stage 3 or 4 times. I'm talking about timeline, talking about it, and so I'm setting this. So subconsciously, you're looking, this is the timeline, the beginning, middle, and end, right? So then later I'm coming back, I'm talking about having success. I come back and I re-anchor back to the success, this is the result. You actually get the thing you want, okay? Or somebody has to be stuck over here in the ordinary world, and you're failing, you're freaked out, and you can't figure out how to do the whole thing. You may think I'm just randomly walking by. I'm not randomly walking, right? I spent time chopping up this stage into a timeline multiple times, anchoring that for you. And then when I'm talking about different pieces of the timeline, moving those different directions, right? We're talking about you meeting the hero and come back here. This is where the hero, you meet the hero on the hero's journey. They can take you and pull you on a thing. Then you come over here and then this is where you find success. Notice there's a reason why I anchored all these on this side of the stage, right? This is the goal. This is the real. This is what we're trying to get to, right? Back over here, this is your subconscious mind, the ordinary world. This is where you're stuck at. And then come over here, we're trying to go over here. Boom, boom. I'm just trying to make Brandon mess with me on the camera. He can't keep up with me. Yeah. Okay? He's went back to the wide shot. So that's again, I have no idea if that's how NLP is actually supposed to work, but when I learned that and how people are doing it to replace fears and phobias and things in people's mind, I'm like, okay, same thing. I'm gonna map out the timeline on stage, and as I'm talking about different parts, I keep readdressing and re-snapping back into those things, okay? And so, that's some of the things that we do when I'm speaking. There's versions you can do on a webinar. Obviously, it's a little bit harder, especially if you're doing just slide-based. If you're doing slide plus a camera, it's a little easier. You still do left versus right, things like that. Yeah, so that's some of the NLP stuff. You guys getting that? Does that make sense? Okay, can you imagine using NLP and building out a timeline and taking people on that journey, and you see them, you see the end result the whole time, right? And taking back you guys getting this? It's making sense. Okay, all right. Let's see. I think I have one more thing. I already talked about repitch, so I'm gonna skip that one. We talked about it earlier. So last time we talked about a repitch, right? So day 3 is the repitch. In a webinar, what the repitch is let's say I do a 90-minute webinar. A lot of times I'll come back and on Saturday or on Monday, I'll do one more session, a Q&A session, which becomes a repitch. When we did the Thinking Growers Challenge, we came back and we called it a money party. And the money party was basically a repitch. So in a 3-day event, the repitch is day number 3. In a webinar, a repitch is gonna be a separate event that happens to the non-buyers later, always before the cart closes, right? So it's the same strategy we're using in anything. In a challenge, it's an extra day. In a webinar, it's a separate thing where people have a chance overnight to finish their thing and you're coming back later, okay? So that's what a repitch is. Now, a pre-pitch, these are things that you're doing throughout the presentation that you're setting up that you're gonna tie back to later. You're gonna tie back to during the close, okay? So in a pre-pitch, a good example of this is when day number 1, session number 1, I talked about the monkeys, the elephant, and the lizard, right? This is me teaching and training on something. And I'm doing it for a lot of reasons, but one of them is because I know that when we get to the close later, I'm gonna tie back to this concept. Does that make sense? So I explain this whole thing, you guys get it, you're learning from one different angle, but now it's inside your subconscious mind, the story is stored inside of here, and when I come back later, 2 days later from the pitch, I was like, and then you have this thing with the emotional monkey. And we're having this whole discussion, right? I'm tying back to this thing, and your brain can remember it quickly because it's a story, right? And then we can have this whole conversation a lot faster than me re-coming back to it, right? So that's kind of what, like what a pre-pitch is and a tie back. And we're doing that all the time, like especially in this event, you think about, this is a weird event for me because like I'm teaching you all the closes and then like I kind of lost all the closes because like you have all my closes now, right? And so, but it was kind of fun. Like, you notice like I showed you guys the session from Myron talking about decisions, cutting off all other options, right? Later in the day, in the pitch and the repitch, both times, if you notice, I came back, I talked about like, you guys need to decide and cut off all their options. And I didn't have to go retell Myron's 15-minute story. You heard that story during the content. It's put into your subconscious mind, but as soon as you saw me go like this, you had to cut off all other options. Boom, instantly you're recalling everything we talked about. Your subconscious mind that fast remembers it. It's like, I need to cut off a lot of other options. Otherwise I'm lying to myself, right? So what happens is a lot of times we're in the close, and in the perfect world, like I could tell, like I could spend 4 hours in the close and have every story perfectly orchestrated, but it's gonna get really, really long. So we weave these stories into the content, okay? So the story is so that the longer version story is told, and then when I come back to the pitch, I can do one thing, cut, anchors it, brings it back, and that whole story is now inserted into your brain, and I have to spend 20 minutes reteaching that piece. Does that make sense? Okay. It's similar to, who was it? I've seen a couple of different speakers do this. I can't remember who it was at the top of my head, but there's a speaker that used to, I think it might have been James Malinchak. Anyway, the speaker, I used to see him all the time when I was doing the road shows back in the day. And what he would do during his presentation is he would have a copy of his course up on stage. And what he would do is he would like, at the very beginning, he's like, I'm gonna give one of you guys a copy of my course for free. This course is worth $1,000, it's amazing. And then he's like, who here wants it? And then the half hands go up to I want all you guys, let me explain what's in this course, because you guys are gonna want this really bad. And he goes through, he picks up, this is what this is, and like sells you on this. And this is what this, so he goes through the whole entire thing in the content, like about how great this is as part of the giveaway, right? People are freaking out, like, I want the course. Who wants it? Who'd pay $1 million? Like, getting people all excited about this course and the value of it. And then he gives away to one person, right? One person now has it. But now he did the entire pitch on the course. So then over here in the pitch, he gets there, he gets the part of the course. Next thing you get the course. You guys remember the course you guys started earlier with all that stuff? You can get that as well. Now, he doesn't have to spend 20 minutes now going through all the elements of the course. They already know that. Right? Subconscious mind has the story. They already desired it. They wanted it. All of a sudden, so taking that 20-minute thing, insert it instantly right here with 1 second, reinserted, and you keep going on, and the desire's already there. Does that make sense? Okay? And so it's weaving those things throughout. You'll probably notice over the last 2.5 days, multiple times I mentioned, like we have this program called the Prime Mover Foundation. For the foundation members, we actually have all the copy-paste closes. They can log in, they can just watch them whenever they want. Right? So I talked about that, and then later I'm like, and then you get the copy-paste closes, and like your brain instantly is able to insert it, okay? So throughout the presentation, we're always pre-pitching these different elements, right? That are in the content, then we can bring back later and anchor them to like a tie back to it, and it just inserts the whole entire story quicker. Does that make sense? So that's what a pre-pitch and a tie-back is kind of weaving those things all into it, okay? And so those are the core things I wrote down for the Advanced Persuasion Workshop. Is that fun stuff? Yeah. Who here got at least one idea from that? Ruben said he's ordered an elephant for his house. That's amazing. Tanya said, this is so crazy. I had no idea there's so much psychology in every aspect of what he does. Yeah, again, I'm someone who, when I get obsessed with something, I go deep, right? Like I get excited about a topic, I go buy every book I can find on the topic. And for me, I remember I'd spoken at 3 or 4 events and had bombed. I was like, I hate this, I'm never gonna do it. And then I bought Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer's public speaking course. I listened to that the first time. And it was the first version of just like, your goal is not to just speak to teach, speak to sell is different. I remember learning that. And then the next event I went to, the very first time I remember I sold 6 people $1,000, I made $6,000. And I had a little taste of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a learnable skill. I went from 0 to making 6 sales. I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So then I went crazy, right? So then I bought all the courses, and then inside there, people are talking about this course and this course. So I started buying all this stuff. And so I bought like every NLP book, every hypnosis book. You guys know what cold readings are? If you want to go to fast days, cold reading is like when you see like the people that are like, come on stage and I'm going to talk to your dead grandpa, and they do this whole thing. Like that's called cold reading. And there's books that teach you how to do it. It's like a fascinating science. But you study that, like how could you use that when you're doing presentations? Like there's just all these cool things. So I went deep on all these different rabbit holes. And again, I don't remember all the pieces of them. Like as I was learning them, I'm weaving in my presentation, weave these things in. And then over time, they just become part of the language patterns or part of what you're doing. So the first time it may seem overwhelming, but just as you're learning these things, just start weaving them in. Like when I'm building my slides, I'm always just leaving little things there to remind me to do stuff, right? Again, when I started doing trial closes, it was like me putting sticky notes around my monitor so I would remember to do these trial closes. And eventually, it became part of what I did, so I could get rid of sticky notes, right? In my slides, I know that if I'm going to tie back to something earlier, I may just throw a little picture on the slide of the tie back. So first off, I don't forget the tie back. But number two, even they see the visual of like, oh, here's the course Russell talked about. I see a visual of like, oh, there's a visual tie back, and it reminds me when I'm doing my presentation, like, and don't forget that course I talked about earlier. You're getting that as well, right? So like, you're building these things, and so it's just kind of slowly weaving these things in, weaving them in. Again, it's going to be hard to go and do all these things at once, but if you start learning from it, they're very simple, right? Social compliance, very first year webinar, what are you going to do? Where are you guys all calling in from? Turn your cameras on, I want to see you. Everyone raise your hand with me right now, right? Everyone type in the chat your favorite thing. Like, boom, I just 3 social compliance things. Now group norms all together, like already just from that alone, now we've got more compliance. Now it's going to be easier for us to persuade people when we're moving through it, right? Controlling the pre-frames, right? Okay, every time we do this pre-frame, I'm opening loop, I'm closing loop. So you start weaving these things in your presentations, you get better and better and better, till eventually they start becoming second nature. So don't stress about, I need all these at once. You just kind of start weaving them in and have fun with them, try things out. Sometimes they're going to feel weird, and you're like, that was dumb, I'm never doing that again. That's okay. But other times, the ones that feel good, like just double down and keep doing those kind of things, and it can be a lot of fun, okay? All right, so here's the game plan. I'm going to pull the slide back up, I think just so you guys see one last time the offer. So again, go to sellingonline.com/go to get started. And as you know, all you got to do right now is go and lock in your lifetime account by putting in your deposit. The deposit is $997. After you lock in, you have a chance to pick your payment plan. If you're going to do a $10,000 full and pay, if you're going to do a 3-pay, or if you need to contact our team and move things around, whatever that is, just make sure you lock in your deposit right now. And then I want to do one last thing that I think would be really cool. As you guys know, this offer expires Sunday at midnight, but there's a few of you guys still on the fence, just still thinking through it, thought, what if I give you guys one last irresistible offer that is insane, but this one disappears tonight at midnight? Okay, that way I'm just gonna push you guys over the edge even further. So this is one of my favorite things I've ever done. As you guys know, I told you guys a story a couple times about when I spoke at Grant Cardone's event, 10X, we set a world record, and what I didn't tell you guys what happened is I did the thing, we set the world record, and then the next morning at the event, Grant called me back up, and he's like, do you want to come back on stage and tell everyone the sales and the stats? I'm like, that'd be fun. So I got back on stage. I told everyone, I said, hey, this is what we did. I shared the stats, the numbers, and then I had an idea, like spur of the moment on stage. I said, how many of you guys would like to learn how to sell the way that I sold? And everyone's hands went up. Like 9,000 people are going crazy. I said, okay, I have an idea. I have a bonus. What I'm going to do is for anybody who already signed up, I'm going to give you guys this for free. And if you haven't yet, if you sign up right now during the break, I'll give it to you guys as a bonus. I said on Monday, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do an event where I literally open up my slides. I'm going to go slide by slide by slide and show you what I did and why I did it. So we're going to push play on the video. We'll watch the very first thing. I'll pause it and I'll explain what I did and why I did it. We'll push play, watch the next part, and then pause it and go back and forth. And I said, but if you sign up right now, then you'll get that bonus. And what's crazy is we closed another $250,000 in sales from people who wanted that bonus. So the next Monday, I sat down and for 6 hours, I recorded this entire thing. It's probably the best breakdown, the best training I've ever done on the webinar process, because I shared things I've never told people before, because most people would not understand it. They think I was insane. But because of the situation, I sat there and I was trying to brag to these guys and show off. And so I literally go slide by slide. I push play, then you see it, I stop it. And like, this is why I had everyone pull their flashlights out. This is why I said that. This is why I got people, like why I anchored the stage right here, why I did this. And I showed everything, okay? It's like, I don't know, probably the coolest thing I've ever created. And so how many of you guys would like to have access to that 6-hour video? Okay. If you would, this is the deal. Again, this is one of the coolest things. I think I could easily sell this by itself for $10,000. In fact, for the right person, it's worth hundreds of thousands, if not more. But what I want to do for you guys right now, anybody who gets their deposit submitted before midnight tonight, okay, deposit submitted before midnight tonight, we're also going to throw that in as a bonus as well. And again, it's a 6-hour video of me going through the entire presentation of me at 10X. You'll see every hook, every close, every trial close, everything I did in excruciating detail with me explaining you how it works. In fact, I had a friend the other day. He was doing a webinar, speaking at an event. He literally told me, he's like, I had my slides out. I sat down, I watched your entire thing. He's like, I weaved your trial close in. I weaved how you did stuff through. And then he ended up doing a 6-figure presentation afterwards from that. So this is like the coolest thing I could possibly give you. And this one disappears tonight at midnight, okay? So again, lifetime access expires Sunday at midnight. This bonus expires tonight at midnight, which means you've got today to get it. Otherwise, it's gone forever. So with that said, you guys, we got one more cool session to do tonight. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. That way, the last set of you guys who haven't done it yet can lock in your lifetime discount right now and lock in the bonus. I'm going to call this an exploding bonus. It disappears, explodes tonight at midnight, and it's the 6-hour training of me showing you guys step-by-step what I did 10X. If you want that, all you do right now is go lock in your lifetime account right now, $997, going to sellingonline.com/go. With that said, we'll be back here in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, probably going to have a dance party. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have a lot of fun. And with that said, I'll see you guys back here in 10 minutes.